Hello. Time to do another little video here. What are we going to talk about today? FEMA Camp Region 3? I think today we should talk about the flat earth. These flat earthers are just another piece of proof that the guy I don't like, Henry Kissinger, who said useless eaters, these flat earthers are living proof of that. The earth is not flat. Did we go to the moon? Yes. The Russians would have had a field day making fun of us and exploiting it if we would have faked the moon landing. That didn't happen. Why? Because we went to the moon. What's important about the moon? Well, in space it's a vacuum. Sound doesn't transfer. You could scream at the top of your lungs, your vocal cords would vibrate, but there's no air to transfer the sound waves, so you would hear nothing. Now they say that moon is hollow. How do they know that? Well, it's simple. They put a seismograph that was hooked up to a communications relay to send a encrypted digital signal back to NASA. And they set it up and tested it, and it worked. And then they got in the capsule and went back to the orbiter. And then the capsule was jettisoned back down to hit the moon. Since there's no atmosphere in space or on the moon, and the gravitational effect, all they had to do was give it a little nudge, and there it went toward the moon. And when they timed it right, it hit pretty close to where the seismograph was set up. And the purpose is very simple. It hits the moon, and if the moon is solid, you hear a doom. That's it. That's the only signal that the seismograph would send back. But that's not what they heard. What they heard was like an oscilloscope, a sinusoidal wave, a doom, 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 and it ends, dissipates to zero. That indicates, to some extent, the moon is hollow. And it's just like ringing a bell. If it's a solid piece of metal, you just get a thud. If it's, rounded and hollow inside, you get a doom, 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 like a bell, ship's bell. So they know for a fact that the moon is hollow to a point. The mass and speed and impact of force, and depending on the density of the moon's construction, will determine the amplitude or size of the sinusoidal wave and the length or time it takes for it to dissipate to zero. So there's no doubt about it, the moon is hollow. And they're saying, well, there's no sound in space. How do you know that? Well, I just explained to you how they know that. So let's get back to the flat earth thing. They say that if the earth was flat, you should be able to see for a long period of time. Well, that's not true. You get dispersion of light and focus and focal point. And so at a distance, even with 20/20 vision, you can't see at 1,000 feet what you can see at 20. That's common sense. Now, some of these people are saying, well, you can get on a tower, and if the earth was round, you shouldn't be able to see but so far. No, that's not true. To the horizon, because of the curvature of the earth, it's about 13, 14 miles. Under perfect visibility conditions. Higher up, you can see farther. This is why you can see farther high up than you can at ground level. Another piece of proof that the earth is round. Even, Galileo, Copernicus, Aristotle, one of these ancient guys that figured out the earth was round. Prior to that, they actually thought it was flat. In Christopher Columbus' day, they said, well, you'll go so far, you'll fall off the earth. A bunch of horse shit. The earth is not flat. In the words of an illustrious man who I kind of admire in a certain way, Captain Kirk of the Starship Enterprise, get a fucking life. You flat earthers need some fucking serious therapy. People think I'm nuts. I'm not so stupid as to believe in the flat earth. Now, how about flying saucers? Well, they can't exist because they make very fast and then stop suddenly and make a right angle reverse geometry maneuver. How do they do that? It's very simple. They're protected and shielded from the laws of physics, G-forces and stuff like that, because of an electromagnetic gravitational field. Are you floating? No, you're sitting in a chair, standing up, doing something. Because you're held to the Earth's surface by the counter-rotating mass of molten iron ore, which counter-rotates to the rotation of the Earth because it's round, and that's what develops the artificial gravity, which holds us in the atmosphere in place and allows us to live on this planet. Well, Is the Earth round? Well, not technically. It's actually roughly about 100 miles smaller at the poles, from the North Pole to South Pole, than at the equator. That's because the magnetic pole of where it comes out and develops the gravitational field. Are you holding on to a chair or table right now? You should be, because if the Earth was flat, there would be no molten core, there would be no gravitational field, and you'd go flying off through the universe. Well, how come you don't? Well, because of the gravitational field, you have no sensation or effect of movement. Are we sitting still or standing? No. We're moving. The Earth is rotating. It's revolving around the sun is revolving around something, and that something is revolving around something. The universe is in constant motion, yet you have no sensation of movement. Why? Because of the electromagnetic gravitational field of the Earth, because it's round. Inside the core, the crust is a molten core which counter-rotates, develops a gravitational field, electromagnetic gravitation. This is what allows flying saucers to move in different directions without the occupants or pilots, navigators, etc., being crushed to death by the severe G-forces. There are no G-forces. They're neutralized and nullified by the self-generated electromagnetic field. This is how they propel themselves, and this is how they can do things that our aircraft can't do, because our aircraft use jets or propellers or turboshafts or turboprops, things like that. They don't develop their own electromagnetic gravitational field. Otherwise, they would be totally immune to the G effects, the G forces, inertia. Has to do with gravity and all that stuff. Any common high school student who studied a little bit of physics can understand this. Apparently, you flat earthers can't seem to do that. This is how they manipulate, how they move, how they can do such unbelievable things without the pilots and controllers being destroyed. Well, because there is no movement inside. They're protected by an electromagnetic shield called self-generated gravity. The same kind of electromagnetic gravitational field which allows you to walk across the room, because the Earth is not sitting still, it's spinning, and as it spins it rotates around the sun, and I've already explained that. But you don't experience this, and you never will, because of the electromagnetic gravitational field. If that ever collapses, you'd go flying off. Second, you'd float up in the atmosphere. Second, third, the atmosphere would go out into space, and we would all choke to death, because we would have no more oxygen to breathe. So, enough said on that, Kemosabe. We are not on a flat Earth. Another point I want to make. So, the flat earthers say you get in a plane, the Earth would be rotating. No, the atmosphere is rotating with the Earth. Air is mass, very light, but it does have some degree of mass, and it is composed of electrons, protons, neutrons, electrons, and it rotates with the Earth and us. That's why when you fly with the plane, you're doing it. This is why when the Russians launch a missile at us, they can't use the rotation of the Earth to make it travel a farther distance in a shorter period of time, because we all move in unison because of the electromagnetic gravitational field, dumb shit. This is why you can get on a plane and fly somewhere, and you don't have to just hover and wait for the Earth to rotate and then just lower down. It doesn't work that way. We are moving, the atmosphere is moving, and you're flying through the atmosphere, whether it's in a rotary-winged helicopter, that's rotary wing, or a fixed-wing, prop or jet aircraft, because you're moving with the Earth. That's why you have to fly to your destination. You can't just fly around in a circle or hover and wait for the Earth to rotate where you want to go. It doesn't work that way. This is the reason why you can get in a plane and fly somewhere. According to the flat earthers, that's physically impossible. Bullshit. I just explained how simple and easy it is. And with that, I'm going to end this particular video, and I want to nominate, personally, all you flat earthers to be housed in a nice little facility over in Fayette County, Raleigh County, West Virginia, called FEMA Camp Region 3, because you people not only need to get a life, but you need to be removed from society with your stupid flat earth bullshit. And with that in mind, I nominate those people to be put in a FEMA camp. Now that I've explained this to you, and it can't be any simpler than that, you need to go have you some, chili, maybe some spaghetti, a little beef stew, Pepsi, a cup of coffee, a shot of rum, a good smoke, I'm going to get a life. And then slowly and very gently reach down and pull your head out of your ass and join the real world. Because the earth is not flat. It's not perfectly round. It's, to some extent, it's, I guess, what would you call it? Egg-shaped, elliptical. It is not perfectly concentric. But the bottom line is the earth is round. It does rotate. We do have a generated electromagnetic field from the Earth's molten core, counter-rotating, and it's made from different metals and et cetera, et cetera. All rock has some degree of ferrous metal in it. Where do you think we get steel from? We dig up the earth and get it. You don't just snap your fingers and it just appear in your hands, you know. It's called iron ore, and it comes from the earth. And there's metal is metallic, you know, and it has magnetism. And so this is how we sit on the earth. So I know what you're saying. Well, why are we not floating in the atmosphere? Well, because if the Bible's true, and that's debatable, I won't even go there today. Man was made from the dust of the earth, and dust has ferrous metal in it, and all matter is composed of electrons, neutrons, and protons, which have an electromagnetic charge. It's what holds all matter together. And this is the reason why we are held down by the gravity. You know, so it's not because we're all robots made out of metal. We're just flesh and blood, made from the supposed dust of the ground. You know, man appears. Well, we won't go there today. But now that I've explained all that to you, have yourself a good smoke or a pipe, cigar. Just stay away from me with the cigars. I don't need cigars. They're good for crowd control, not much more. If you don't believe me, light one up in a crowd of people, watch them scatter. That'll leave pretty quick. And they really stink up a car, much worse than cigarettes do. But anyway, now I didn't say go smoke a joint because I'm not into this weed shit. You know, only dope use dope. Real men smoke a pipe or cigarettes. They drink coffee, pop, or booze. They don't eat that tofu and bean sprouts and broccoli shit. You know, that's probably what the flat earthers eat. You know, since they're so smart, they're about as smart as a hole in the ground. To be honest with you, most flat earthers, in my honest, humble opinion, I'm a very humble man. That's why I call myself El Diablo. Most flat earthers would not know the difference between a hole in the ground and their ass. And maybe their ass is plugged up why they think the earth is flat. They should have a little more porcelain goddess bowl time in their life. Have a nice day. Since it's Saturday, have a nice weekend. And we'll see you soon. Bye.